Happy Thanksgiving. So I really like the story of the Pilgrims, and I'm gonna do a brief story about part of the history of the Pilgrims today, and then every Thanksgiving I'm gonna add to it and tell more and more of the story. So the Pilgrims started out as religious separatists inside of England. They didn't like some of the teachings of the Anglican Church, and they wanted to do their own thing, kind of like the Amish do today. They want to just exist and be left alone by those around them. So the Anglican Church didn't put up with that. If you weren't Anglican, they'd fine you or throw you in jail. So they ended up moving to Holland. Things didn't work out well in Holland. Holland had a lot of religious freedom at the time, but it was very secular. And they didn't like how their kids were becoming more and more secular and weren't following the teachings of God. So they decided that they heard about these people moving to the New World and setting up colonies. So they wanted to do the same thing. So they loaded up the ship, and not everybody on the ship were pilgrims. Some of them were just people that wanted to come over and start a colony too. And there were some disagreements about what they should bring and stuff like that. But they managed to settle down and come up with a good plan. And they left and came to the New World. About the same time they were setting up the Jamestown colony. Well, the Jamestown colony, there's a bit of a side here. The Jamestown colony was built for the sole purpose of producing money and bringing it back to England. It was basically, they weren't mining, they were farming stuff around here, but basically a mining operation. They're just sucking things out, and they didn't care about putting anything back. They didn't care about building a life here. But the Pilgrims, they came, they built a life, they wanted to build a life here, they wanted to be left alone and to pursue the religion that they wanted to pursue and the way they wanted to pursue it. And they actually got along with the Indians for the most part. The only Indians they had problems with were the ones that were enslaving people, doing human sacrifices, cannibalism, stuff like that. The Indian tribes that didn't participate in those things, they got along with fine. And the other Indian tribes, they didn't get along with those guys that were doing those things either. So it was kind of mutual. Nobody really liked those particular guys. And if you're okay with cannibalism and slavery and human sacrifices and stuff like that, quit watching this video. Go find a different channel to watch. So they came. They set up their colony. And they did the best they could. They had a lot of issues. They first set up the Mayflower Compact. Everybody's heard of that in school, where they agreed to share everything in common. Well, that wasn't working out really well for them. So after the first year, what they decided to do is everybody would get their own plot of land, and you could work as hard as you wanted or not as hard as you wanted, and whatever you produced on your land, you could buy, sell, trade, use, do whatever you wanted with. And they did that, and they did a lot better. I'm not saying that they were rich and had everything they wanted, but they did better that way. Well, coming into winter, they were always, even during those good years, they were always just barely had enough stored up for winter. But what they decided to start doing is celebrating and having a big party and thanking God for what they did have. And when they would do that, they would pray and ask God to bless them and help them get through the winter. And they would invite the tribe that was closest to them, that they had the best relationship, they would invite those guys to come and help celebrate with them. And celebrate that they had some food and that they made it, and that and pray and ask God to help them through the winter. And then in the spring, they would always pray, and on April 15th, they'd have another dinner, big celebration. Not always, but the tradition with Thanksgiving. In the spring, they'd have a party and celebrate and stuff, and pray that God helps them have a good, bountiful harvest so they can make it through the next winter again. It was kind of a cool cycle. For me and my family, we're actually going to start, they don't know this, but we're going to start celebrating that in April. But anyway, what I'm trying to get at is times are rough right now for everybody. Not just the prices of food, but a lot of insecurities, talks about war and people at each other's throat. Stop for just one day at least and go spend time with your family. Go hang out with your friends and family. Try to make the world a better place, and sit down and be thankful and grateful for what you do have, and thankful and grateful that you have friends and family. So turn this video off and go do that. And then tomorrow we can get back, instead of going shopping and stuff, go back to making your life better. Go out and hunting giants and building a better life for you and those around you.